Hello, beautiful people. It's Lulu. Welcome back to the Lulu Essey podcast. This is episode 57, and I cannot believe we're at 57 episodes. It's just wild, crazy, and incredibly joyful to me. Today's episode is inspired by a video I saw a few days ago. The video was of Jacob Collier, and if you don't know him, he's an extraordinary musician, multi-instrumentalist, and absolute genius. And he was talking about what he calls wiggly lines. And before we get going, please share this episode right now with the people you know who express their difference in the world. And share it with those who struggle with their difference, with their wiggle. This episode is like giving the people you love huge encouragement to be who they are in the world. Back to Jacob Collier. He has this whole philosophy about the wiggle. He says that human beings were born to wiggle. We're meant to be free, fluid, creative, just like wiggly lines. However, we live in a world that loves straight lines. System loves straight lines. Schools, workplaces, society, they all prefer things neat, orderly, predictable, straight. That's it. No deviation or exceptions, just straight lines. And Jacob talks about how those straight line systems struggle with people like him, people like us who are naturally wiggly. He describes himself as someone who's always felt like he didn't quite fit the conventional mold. And instead of making that wrong, instead of trying to force himself into a straight line, he's built an entire career, an entire life celebrating and expressing his wiggle. But here's what really captivates me about Jacob. He doesn't use his wiggle to separate himself from others. He uses it to create connection. When he performs, he invites thousands of people to sing together, to harmonize, to, as he puts it, wiggle en masse. He takes his difference and turns it into a moment where everyone feels permission to be free, to express themselves, to join in. He uses his difference to create connection, belonging, harmony, and he literally creates moments of profound beauty when he gets thousands of complete strangers to sing together. It's transcendent. I have been in the audience when he's done just that, here in New York at Radio City Music Hall. It was an experience that will live in my heart always. And this is what rose to the surface with me and lifted my soul. Because I think that's the work. Not to other ourselves with our wiggle, but to use it as an invitation to show up so fully in our difference that other people feel safer being different too. To show up so fully in that difference that we encourage the opportunity for meaningful connection. So thank you, Jacob, for giving language to something I felt my entire life, and for showing us what's possible when we stop trying to straighten ourselves out. I'd like to tell you about one of my own experiences with wiggly lines, and it's quite literal. As a child, and mind you, as an adult too, I could not stay inside the lines when I was coloring. My crayons had their own ideas about boundaries and lines. They refused to stay inside those lines. I'd be working away in my coloring book, and inevitably my purple crayon would wander off into the sky. My blue would bleed into the grass, and everything would end up looking like a very enthusiastic mess. And scissors? Oh, well, you can forget about that. Even if I drew a line with a ruler, I'd somehow end up with a piece of paper that looked like it went through a very indecisive paper shredder. My lines were never straight. They wobbled, they curved, they wiggled. And you know what happened? I got criticized for it. A lot. And it wasn't said with cruelty necessarily, but the message was very clear. This isn't right. This isn't good. Why can't you just stay inside the lines like everyone else? So I stopped. I stopped coloring. I stopped drawing. I stopped cutting paper in art class. Because if I couldn't do it right, why do it? It avoided being criticized and singled out. And here's the thing. I still carry that with me. Even now, 50-something years later, when I need to cut something, there's this little flutter of anxiety. Will I mess it up? Will it be crooked? Will someone notice? 9 times out of 10, I still don't cut in a straight line. But now I can laugh about it because I've learned that my wiggle is not a flaw. It's just how I move through the world. And it wasn't just with crayons and scissors. This wiggle showed up everywhere. My relationship choices did not follow a conventional path. My life choices definitely did not. I've always been someone who so-called zigs when others zag, who takes the scenic route when everyone else is on the highway. And for a long time, I tried to straighten myself out. I tried to force myself into lines I was never meant to fit. It was like trying to make oil and water mix. In terms of the laws of physics, it was an impossibility. And it definitely felt that way to me. And I know for absolute sure that I'm far from the only one who has experienced this, or who still experiences this. How many of us learned somewhere along the way that our natural movement wasn't acceptable, that our wiggle was too much, too complicated, too messy, too different? So we froze. We did our best to straighten. We tried to force ourselves into shapes we were never designed to hold. We became our own straighteners. That voice in our head that says, "Get it together. Be more like everyone else. Come on, why can't you just be normal? Why do you have to make everything so complicated?" That's us, trying to turn our wiggly lines into straight ones. And here's what I've learned. It simply doesn't work. It just makes us brittle, rigid, and more likely to break under pressure. We lose our natural flexibility and agility. We literally stiffen up and become unable to bend and flow. And if you're feeling this right now, during the holiday season, you're not alone. You're actually in really good company. The holiday messaging is all about straight lines. It's about perfect families gathered around perfect tables with perfect decorations and perfect smiles. Everyone's supposed to be joyful, grateful, together. There's actually a script for how the holidays are supposed to look. And if your holidays don't look like that, if your family is complicated, if you're not celebrating at all, or if you'd rather have a quiet night alone than attend another event, it can feel like your wiggle is wrong. But what if it's not wrong? What if your version of the holidays is just as valid, even if it doesn't fit the perfect social media narrative? Maybe your wiggle looks like not having a Christmas tree, or having a completely different tree this year. Maybe it's celebrating in a way that doesn't match your upbringing, or choosing to honor your actual energy levels instead of pushing through exhaustion to meet everyone else's expectations. Maybe it means not exchanging gifts. Maybe it means choosing not to do what is expected of you. I'm not saying the traditional holidays are wrong. I'm saying your wiggle, whatever it looks like, is right too. And this is not just an emotional thing. Our bodies, our nervous systems are actually designed for wiggle. There's this concept in medicine called heart rate variability, or HRV. It's a measure of the variation in time between each heartbeat. And here's the thing, high variability, high wiggle is a sign of health. It means your nervous system is flexible, adaptable, resilient. It means it can shift between calm and alert, between rest and response, with ease and flow. While low variability, now that's rigidity. That's a nervous system that's lost its ability to wiggle, to adapt, to flow with what life throws at it. And that rigidity is associated with stress, trauma, and burnout. So at a biological level, we're meant to wiggle. We're designed for it. We were meant to be flexible, agile, and to flow. And here's the distinction I want to make, and this is important. There is a big difference between wiggly lines and wobbly foundations. Wiggly lines are about freedom, creativity, and expressing yourself authentically. They're about staying true to yourself, even when the path isn't straight. Wobbly foundations, however, are about instability, lack of grounding, chaos. And what I teach, what mental fitness is really about, is building foundations strong enough to support your wiggle. You need solid ground under your feet. You need self-love, self-worth, and a few core practices that keep you anchored, grounded, centered, so that when you wiggle, you're doing it from a place of strength, of confidence, of clarity, not from a place of uncertainty, doubt, and fear. You're not flailing, you're flowing. Jacob Collier doesn't just wiggle randomly. He's a superb musician, incredibly accomplished, with deep technical knowledge. His wiggle comes from mastery, not chaos. He's built the foundation that allows him to improvise, to experiment, to move freely. He's built a foundation that allows for joy, so much joy and excitement. It's incredible to witness. And that's what we're building here too. We're building the foundation so your wiggle can be beautiful and liberating, not destabilizing. Here's what happens when we try to force straight lines. We lose things, important things. We lose our creativity, our authenticity, our joy, our ability to connect, really connect with ourselves and with others. I think that is the biggest price we pay for straightening. We lose our connection to ourselves, our belonging to ourselves first. And when that happens, there is very little chance to connect meaningfully with those around us and with the world at large. When I stopped coloring as a kid, I didn't just lose the activity. I lost a way of expressing myself. I lost the permission I gave myself to play, to experiment, to be different, to make things that didn't have to be perfect. I lost the beautiful essence of my weirdness, which I should celebrate, not hide. And when we do that as adults, when we stop wiggling in our careers, our relationships, our choices, we lose ourselves a little bit at a time. We move further and further away from who we truly are. We go quiet. We withdraw. We make ourselves smaller. We literally dim our light. We present the version of ourselves that we think will be acceptable. And we hide the wiggly parts away. We keep those parts in the shadows. We stop feeding them, nourishing them, loving them. And doing that is exhausting. It's lonely. It's diminishing. And most importantly, it's a form of self-abandonment. So here's what I'd like to offer you today. A tiny tool I'm calling the Wiggle Check-in. This is something you can do anytime you notice yourself trying to force a straight line. Maybe it's a rigid expectation you're holding for yourself. Maybe it's a routine you're white-knuckling your way through. Maybe it's a version of yourself you're trying to perform that doesn't actually feel true to who you are. When you notice that happening, pause, take a breath, and ask yourself 3 questions. First, where's my wiggle room here? Where could I give myself a little more freedom, a little more flexibility? Second, what would it look like to stay grounded, but move with more ease? How can I keep my foundation solid while letting go of rigidity? And third, am I trying to straighten myself right now? Am I criticizing my wiggle instead of celebrating it? Does this feel true to who I am? You don't have to have perfect answers to these questions. You're just checking in. You're noticing. You're giving yourself a moment to choose wiggle over rigidity. This is about choosing you over what society, your family, or your friends expect of you. Remember, you are the one with agency here. You are the one who gets to decide if you express your wiggle or hide it away in the shadows. Let's not fall into the blame game, and let's take responsibility for expressing our wiggle and experiencing the joy, the freedom, the creativity, the space that comes with that. Here's my invitation to you. As we move through this holiday season and into the new year, give yourself permission to wiggle. In your creativity, in your choices, in the way you move through the world, in the way you choose to celebrate or not celebrate. Your wiggle is not a flaw to fix. It's not something to apologize for or hide away. It's how you were designed. It's what makes you, you. And know that that version of you is exquisite, and the world needs that version of you. The world needs our wiggly lines. They're what make things interesting and beautiful and alive. They're what create connection, real connection, because when you show up authentically, you give other people permission to do the same. Just like Jacob Collier does. He does not other himself with his wiggle. He invites everyone into it, to share it. He creates moments where thousands of people feel free to be themselves, to harmonize, to express their own unique sound, and to connect and feel the harmony that comes with true connection, even if it's for a few moments. The impact is lasting. That's the gift of wiggle. Not division, but unity. Belonging, not separation. It's pure connection. This holiday season, if you're feeling the pressure to fit into someone else's straight line, to show up a certain way, to be a certain version of yourself, I want you to remember, Your wiggle is welcome here. Your non-traditional holidays are valid. Your complicated family dynamics are real. Your choice to celebrate differently or not to celebrate at all is yours to make. You don't have to color inside the lines. You never did. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. A celebration of wiggly lines. A reminder that our difference is not something to fix. It's something to honor, to celebrate, to share. It has the potential to bring so much joy into our lives and the lives of those around us. Thank you, as always, for being here, for listening, for being part of this community where wiggles are not just accepted, but celebrated and treasured. Your wiggle is truly and fully honored here. Please share this episode with the people in your life who express their wiggle, and share it especially with those who struggle to do that. Text it to your friends, drop it in a group chat. Let's give each other the space and permission to be different. And you can also watch the full episode on my YouTube channel. Please rate, review, and follow my show. I would be so grateful. What comes from the heart reaches the heart. And today, like every day, with a deep desire to celebrate your difference and with permission to express that difference, this comes straight from my heart to yours, wiggling all the way. See you next week.